We're just catching up quickly with South Australian Senator Alex Antic. Alex, you were making a contribution in the Senate on Wednesday, and then Victorian Senator Thorpe jumped up. And what was the nature of her concerns about what you were saying?
Well, that's a great question, Ricky. It seemed to be some sort of allegation of being racist or racism or something of that form. It's not an uncommon accusation, of course, from Senator Thorpe. It's sort of an interjection that gets heard quite a lot. Broad-based accusation, I think. I don't really know if there's ever any substance to it because I don't know there are too many actual racists in the Senate. So, but it does come up in the sort of curiously ironic terms. And what I was actually trying to say during the speech was our leaders have got to stop getting worried about the name calling. You know, this concept of isms and phobias, racism and transphobia. You know, we've got to be free to say what we want, and I think that's part of the problem of why some of these issues keep getting bulldozed through us without proper debate. And so that was the point I was making. And then out of left field comes Senator Thorpe, who basically proved the point.
Yeah, that's exactly what appears to me. I mean, she's made these claims in the interjections in exchange with the acting deputy president at the time that she doesn't feel safe in her workplace because she's working with racists. So I think that's a fair paraphrase, isn't it?
It was about that. It was something like that. Yeah, there was a bit more that went on behind. It perhaps wasn't picked up by the cameras as well. But, you know, it went back and forth for about 5 or 6, 10 minutes or so. And eventually she withdrew it under great duress. I don't know what the reason for that was, except to say that it's actually pretty hard to get thrown out of the Senate. And unlike the House where people are getting ejected all the time, and I suspect it was probably coming pretty close to the wire. So she took some advice and backed down. But look, you know, as I said, if ever you need something to prove the point, that was the incident.
Yeah, that's the incredible irony of this one, is you're there talking about free speech. And, you know, surely if senators are able to claim, well, I don't feel safe in my workplace because of things that are being said, then suddenly the Senate, there are certain topics you just can't debate in the national parliament.
Well, that's right. And that's the great fear, Ricky, is that the more, and once again, back to the point I was making, the more that people are leaders, people generally, you know, back down and shy away from the name calling, the less the freedom of speech issue lives on. And I mean, if ever it was going to be somewhere where, you know, that was needed, it was on the floor of our parliament. So I think it does highlight the issue and does highlight the fact that we have to be clear about what we can and can't say, of course, but also free to speak without fear or favour, because that's how we debate things. It's sort of the same sort of things that have happened in the scientific world at the moment. Things get shut down because, you know, I think politics really, and we've got to be able to speak our minds.
Yeah, that's what seems odd to me, is that what people might not realise is it's not a free-for-all in the Senate. Just as Senator Thorpe was asked to do, she was asked to withdraw a claim that she couldn't substantiate. You know, there are these rules that you withdraw allegations, so it's not like you can just say whatever the heck you like in the Senate. There's some rules about, I guess, dignified debate there.
There are, and that was, of course, the point. It was breached the standing order of, you know, imputations against a colleague and so on and so forth. So no, it's absolutely not open slather when it comes to just this sort of, you know, name-calling, chair-throwing type scenario that you might see in a Parliament of Thailand or those famous footages we've seen. But no, it is absolutely not. The rules are there. They do a pretty good job. But unfortunately, even those rules now are sort of under threat from the name-calling, you know, the isms and the phobias. You know, if you want to talk about, you know, traditional marriage, then that does not immediately make you a homophobe. And that was the point I was making.
Yeah, I guess that just seems like a tactic lifted from student activism, isn't it? This is the deplatforming that happens. It's sometimes they just try and shout down their opponents with all sorts of claims and kind of achieved a result in the end because they had to move on to another contribution.
Well, actually, what it did do was it short-circuited the amount of time allocated because there are very strict time limits in the Senate for contributions. So something like 3 or 4 of her colleagues, including some of her own from the Greens, would have missed out on their opportunity to make the statement because of the kerfuffle. So, you know, once again, we're talking about it. So I guess, you know, that's what these people want. And, you know, my point is we've got to be brave, we've got to be strong, and we need leaders that can do that and break through because, you know, freedom of speech is so important.
Good point, Senator. I know you've got to get into the Senate to continue your contributions. Thanks for joining us today on Flow.
Thanks, Ricky. Appreciate it.